It's 3 o'clock. We do have a quorum, so I'll call the Greater Dayton RTA Board of Trustees meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Thomas, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Hoagie?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
Mr. Depp?
Here.
Ms. Hairston?
Here.
Ms. Hurd? Ms. Jones?
Here.
Ms. Simpson?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. Thank you. I now entertain a motion that we approve the minutes of the March 15th board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, additions, or corrections?
Just that it's the March 5th board meeting, and you said 15th.
I apologize. Good catch. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The first committee report is the Finance and Planning Committee. Mrs. Hurd could not be here today, so I'll be taking that report. We met on March 19th, and we have one item for consideration at the board today. It's action item number 2. The purpose of this procurement is to purchase the necessary brake kits, drums, linings, and lining assemblies needed to properly maintain Greater Dayton RTA's diesel fleet. Mr. Tom Hodge presented this action item at our meeting, and the supporting documentation is included in the board packet. Staff is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to award a contract for brake kits, drums, linings, and lining assemblies to Neopart in the amount of $161,674, and to Daimler Buses North America, Inc. in the amount of $104,425. The combined grand total is $266,099. Funding is included in the RTA operating budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Larry. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Also on our also at our March meeting, we discussed the February 2013 financial statements. At that meeting, Mr. Robert Thomas reported that for the current month, net income was significantly better than budget, $377,000. It was mainly due to the fact that wages and benefits were 7% below budget, utilities were $59,000 below budget, and insurance expenses benefited for lower accrual requirements and higher recoveries. The year-to-date numbers were similar to the current month, with all expense categories coming in below budget. Mr. Thomas reported that for the current month compared to the same month in 2012, net income was $102,000 better. Wages and benefited from the 1 day less, and lower medical expenses and contract services were up, mostly due to legal fees. We also discussed, and it's important for us to remember, that although the net income is very positive with regard to budget, there are several items that are going to affect the year-to-date numbers, one of which is the amount that has to be recorded for the retroactive application of the union contract that was signed, which is estimated to be $400,000, so that will wipe out the entire net income number we have. And also, as you may recall, our sales number lags when we find out what the real numbers are by 3 months. So we will not know until this month what the sales tax was for January of this coming year. What we have in the financial statements are the numbers that we budgeted, and we budgeted about a 1% increase over that which we had last year. So depending upon what we hear in April regarding January collections, it could either increase or decrease net income. We are optimistic and hope it would increase it, because indications in the press indicate that sales have gone fairly briskly. So again, we're looking for a positive number in that regard. We also discussed the sales tax update. The December sales tax receipts, again, that's the 6-month lag, 3-month lag. So what we heard about in March is what was actually collected in December. And now we have the full year-to-date sales tax receipts. It was up 0.1% from last year for the month of December, and up 2.8% as compared to year-to-date 2011. So that was very positive. You saw the positive article in today's news. The county obviously experienced the same success pattern as we have had, and that is important. We also discussed, however, that for the month of December, that was the first month in a long time in which sales tax was below budget. As was pointed out by Mrs. Hurd and Mrs. Hairston, that 1 month does not make a trend, but we did take note of the fact that it was below budget for the first time, and it will have to go several months before we see what really will develop. We are optimistic and think this will not be a negative trend, but we are watching it as an indicator of what the financial future is in store for us here at Montgomery County for 2013. Are there any questions dealing with sales tax or with the financial statements? Okay, if there aren't any, then I'll turn the meeting over to our planning committee. Janet?
Thank you. The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met on March 19th, and the Planning Committee has one action item to bring before you. It's action item number 3, the 2013 RTA Community Grant Programs Awards, and we will have a brief presentation by Mr. Eckler to explain the grant program.
I'll go ahead and begin my presentation. It might be here in a second. Good afternoon, everyone. I know many of you saw the presentation at our committee meeting a few weeks ago. For those of you who have not, viewing audience, I'll be going over the 2013 RTA Community Grant application process. Each year, and this has occurred since May of 1996, the RTA has provided the community grant program. And what that does is it leverages federal funds to come to the region to help jurisdictions apply for monies to for 80% funding for things such as shelters, passengers, waiting areas such as pads, concrete pads, benches, etc. And over the years, we've brought a lot of money to the region to help jurisdictions with these projects. This year, we have received 7 applications, and the board action item that we are asking for board approval is for 6 of the applications. And the thing about the community grant program that really helps quite a bit with the budget is there's no effect, because, as I mentioned earlier, 80% of the funding is provided through federal funds. Then the applications, we are asking jurisdictions to provide the 20% match. And from an ongoing operating expense side, we do ask that the jurisdictions maintain all awarded amenities in the future. So in effect, no cost to the RTA for the budget. So I'll go through the various projects right now. City of Centerville, they haven't applied for a few years, but they did this year, and they are looking at 5 different locations for street furniture installations. And the first location is at Clio Road, west of Wilmington Pike, and this is for a proposed bench. And what we have talked about before are Big Belly solar trash containers. These particular containers have a compactor feature in them that reduces the number of visits required at these locations. It was asked at our previous meeting how they're performing from a maintenance standpoint. In the city of Dayton, they have these particular cans through some RTA
community grant programs, and they said from a maintenance standpoint, they've been operating very well. Actually, they've only had to replace 2 fuses in 2 individual cans, so it's been a very minor detail for them from a maintenance standpoint. The thing about these cans that are interesting is you can check on the load, so to speak, of the trash within the Big Belly container via the internet, and it does give you a signal or a warning or an email message, so to speak, letting you know when it's time for service. So that's a high-tech way of helping with maintenance of these particular trash receptacles. The other location the City of Centerville is looking for is Wilmington Pike, north of Briggs Road. This is across the street from the Sugar Creek Plaza off of Wilmington Pike, south of 675. Other 2 locations, this would be at Alex Bell, north, it's actually Loop Road, north of Alex Bell, both of the west and the east side. This would be a proposed bench, and these would be standard waste receptacles at these locations. And then Loop Road, south of Versailles Drive, proposed bench and a replacement receptacle as well. And this is just an example of a current bench and standard receptacle at the Far Hills and Elmwood intersection in Centerville right now. City of Dayton, this is an example of the receptacles that they are asking for. There's a total of 12, and they're proposing on the installation of these receptacles around the Right Stop Plaza area in the downtown to continue maintaining the beautification process through here and making sure that litter is taken care of. This is an ask from the City of Dayton for $12,000. This is an aerial view. This is in Inglewood. This is at Hoke Road at the Smith Drive location, which is right across the street from the Walmart facility. And the City of Inglewood is requesting a $14,400 ask of a bus stop shelter at this particular location. And it's served by RTA Route 16. This is an example of the style of shelter that they are wanting to install. And this is an example at the Meyer Inglewood right now. And that solar panel that you see up there does provide a solar lighting feature at the shelter. That's the style they're looking for at this location. City of Moraine, they also are interested in the solar-powered compacting trash receptacle, and this is a $19,975 ask. And they are looking at installing the container at the Springboro Pike at Cobblegate intersection. That is just near the Alex Bell location where the Meyer is located off of Springboro Pike. Pinnacle Road at Main Street, at this particular location, they are looking as well for the solar-powered compacting container. South Dixie at Wynwood, this is facing north. This is located near the 2 News facility on South Dixie Drive. And then South Dixie at Governor's Place. This is just south of Dorothy Lane at this particular location where they are requesting approval for replacing the old stone pebbled style trash containers for the solar compacting container. I included in the packet just some specifications if there was any interest for what these are all about. Riverside is our final jurisdiction as part of this community grant ask, and they are looking at some shelter installations, and this is just an example, and they're looking at the shelter style that has the hipped roof, so to speak, and the plexiglass sides, and they are looking at installing these shelters at the Valley Pike and Harshman Road area. Stebbins High School, to give you perspective, is at this particular location, and they're looking at installing shelters at this particular intersection. And then also another school, Carroll High School, in the Riverside area, 4524 Linden Avenue in front of Carroll High School. And then, of course, 4515 Linden Avenue, which is the, what they call the Opperman property, is the other location. We have quite a few students who have RTA passes and do utilize our Route 2 service in that particular area. And that's it. That's the list of the projects. And I'll turn it over to Janet for the rest of the action item, unless anybody has any questions or comments.
Frank, is the Greater Dayton RTA unique in how it's applying this federal program?
I can tell you we were one of the first, and it's been brought up by other transit authorities as a model. I got a feeling there's a few out there who are now doing it. I cannot name any particularly, but I do know we were one of the first to implement this program. And it gives jurisdictions an opportunity to provide something in their community that might be more consistent with their logo or their style or motif, so to speak. So we're proud of it.
Thank you.
I do have a question, Frank. On the big belly receptacles, will we have our logo on those?
They do. Yes, RTA's logo will be there as well. We want to make sure that we continue to have our message out there as well as part of being the funding sister, so to speak, in this project.
And will they be secured in some fashion? I see on the spec sheet that they're 300 pounds. I couldn't lift that, but will they be somehow secured?
Yeah, they do have a bolt-down mechanism on them as well. So fairly secure. So far, the ones that are out there have been doing quite well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Eckler. Just to recap the presentation, as Mr. Eckler said, there's a complete summary in our packet of the recommended projects, and also to reiterate, since matching funds and ongoing maintenance are to be provided by the jurisdictions who have applied for these grants, there's no effect on the RTA operating budget. And as stated, we did meet on March 19th to discuss this, and it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the recommended 2013 community grants in the amount of $89,775, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Sharon. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Do you have any additional report, Janet?
Just a couple of more items. Also at our meeting, Mr. Eckler shared with the committees that the RTA will once again be participating and sponsoring in the Levin Foundation Celebrating Life and Health event that's going to be held at Sinclair Community College on April 20th. And from our marketing department, Ms. Pritchard provided an update on the February 2013 ridership data, the RTA Smart Choice Lunch and Learn series. She shared what that schedule will be, and she also shared an overview of visitors to the RTA website, both nationally and internationally. She also provided the Faces of RTA community report to the committee members. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, Janet. It brings to mind, I believe, Mark, a comment that you had made that people are so enamored with these solar-powered receptacles that actually they pick up garbage and put it in to see how it works. So that's very positive.
Including RTA's directors.
Great.
Frank was caught doing that with a pizza box.
Good. It worked. Good. We now move on to the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Franz. Just a couple of informational items. The first one, very good news. We received word that ODOT is granting this organization $1.2 million in the current year for capitalized maintenance. This is an annual competitive grant program that ODOT has. There's a total of about $14 million distributed. So that's a reasonable share, we think, for our project. This year, we decided to go after capitalized maintenance, which is actually part of our operating budget. So that's good news for us. You saw the announcement a few days back that we've hired a new chief maintenance officer. His name is John Sieber, and he starts to work here this coming Monday, even though he's already been involved and is involved on a daily basis via email, and that's been a great thing. I want to really thank Gene Rhodes for his assistance on this, as well as John Thomas. John Thomas helped us early on before he left, and it was funny when this found its way into the new year. People would say, "What's your timeline?" I said, "Well, December 2012 is our timeline, but we're willing to wait until we get the right person if that's the case." I think you'll really be impressed by John. He's going to bring a lot to the organization. We're really excited to get him on board. Goes without saying that we need to throw some other thanks over to Jim Napier, who has managed to, in addition to his regular duties, watch over maintenance for the past few months, and without even gaining a gray hair. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's not been simple. We've had some issues come up that Jim's had to get in the middle of, and then Jim's kind of added his own touch, I think, in starting a whole new approach to housekeeping back there in the shop. So we appreciate all he's done, and he's going to continue to be available for John as he gets started, and we're really excited about that. So good things. I think the board is aware that after the last board meeting, Dr. Whitmore and I traveled to Washington, D.C., a place where it seems very little can get done. Try as we did, we didn't accomplish much either, even though we thought the day after we left, there was an amendment submitted that we had been working on behalf of the smaller transit systems in Ohio, including Greene County, Warren County, and Butler County, only to find out when the continuing resolution for the federal budget finally passed that the entire Senate decided not to add our amendment into the final resolution. So we still have the problem. It technically does not affect our organization here, but it has serious impacts. Warren County, for example, plans to park their buses at the end of this calendar year if they can't get this resolved. So we're still looking for a way to get it done, and we're still being polite, even though we occasionally get angry that it's hard to get action on something that costs no money. It was simply a language issue we were trying to get fixed. So when they get back from recess next week, we're going to try to go to the next step. Really want to thank APTA, a fellow named Billy Terry, who works in government advocacy for APTA. Even this morning was on the phone with me again, talking to staffers up on the Hill. So we're getting good support, but hopefully we'll get something done. These small systems need this money, and they just can't wait another couple of years until we have a new federal bill. Something has to happen this year. So we'll keep pushing for them, because that's just the kind of way we do things around here. Last, I just wanted to pass along greetings from Bill Kramer. I had lunch with Bill today, and I occasionally do. He's recently back from Florida, perhaps a little early, but he wanted to say hello to everybody, and I told him I was keeping an eye on you, Sharon. Because apparently Bill and Sharon go back and forth on a lot of different boards.
Yeah, bless his heart.
But Bill looks good, and he just wanted the board to know he was thinking of you guys and wanted to say hello. So unless there are questions, that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mark. I believe there's no old business to come before the board. Is there any new business? And I believe there are no public comments. Okay. Any board member announcements? There's no need for the request for the executive session. And before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I just want to remind everyone our next board meeting is May 7th. And our next committee meetings is the Joint Held Finance Planning and Personnel and Planning Committee meets on April 16th. And the Investment Advisory Committee meets on April the 18th. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So motioned.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.